Competition in Music Education, Its Role in the Development of Student Musical and Personal Self-Efficacy, by Gene Hickman, Assistant Professor of Music Education, Morningside College. We live in a competitive world. From the beginning of time, man has competed in the evolutionary game of survival of the fittest. American culture celebrates getting ahead, reaching the top, capturing the prize, and winning at all costs. In school, athletic events proclaim winners, valedictorians go to the head of the class, and students are ranked in everything from test scores to physical fitness. Competition, an integral thread in the fabric of Western society, is tightly woven into the American educational process. Many educators, however, question the effect that competitive educational activities have on the self-efficacy beliefs of students. Self-efficacy, defined as a self-evaluation of one's ability to pursue a course of action which achieves a goal, has been shown to be a key indicator of student involvement, engagement, persistence, and achievement. Studies have shown that a competitive classroom environment, rather than enhancing a belief in the ability to achieve, has a tendency to diminish the student's sense of efficacy. This research is concerned with the effect participation in competitive music events has on the self-efficacy beliefs of student musicians, and how competition results impact their future involvement, engagement, persistence, and achievement in music performance. Previous educational research has focused on competition in the classroom, in sports, or in music ensembles such as marching band or show choir contests. There is a dearth of literature on the effects of competition between individual student musicians in a public education setting, especially in the highly personal area of singing. Music is a complex language that, according to Bennett Reamer, affords humanizing self-knowledge of feeling that cannot be as effectively accessed through any other means. David Elliott elaborates that the study of music promotes self-growth, constructive knowledge, and a higher order of consciousness that can be experienced as enjoyment and self-esteem. These definitions would indicate that the study of music aids in the development of a student's personal self-efficacy through a unique form of self-expression. This study will look at competition between individual student musicians through the lens of the all-state chorus audition process. In today's music education scene, there are three primary types of performance events: contests, where individual performers or ensembles compete for ratings or rankings; festivals, where musicians perform together in a non-competitive, cooperative environment; and contest festivals, where musicians compete to be chosen for membership in an ensemble which then presents a cooperative massed choral performance. The all-state chorus is the third type of festival ensemble, the contest festival. Choral contests and competitions have been a part of music education since the early 20th century. The National Choral Contest debuted in 1923, but almost immediately came under fire for its fiercely competitive approach. The contest was discontinued in 1932, partially because of the onset of the Great Depression, and partially as a reaction against competition. In his 1931 study, Keller reported that 44 states had instituted some form of school music contest. Sources disagree on which state may claim the first all-state honor choir. Early entrants were Florida in 1927, Georgia in 1931, Indiana in 1938, and Texas in 1940. The concept caught on, and by 1950, 16 states had adopted some form of the All-State Choral Festival. Today, all 50 states participate, although selection criteria and types of ensembles vary greatly from state to state. The Iowa All-State Chorus is made up of 600 voices, 150 per choral or SATB part. Auditions are held the third Saturday in October. The maximum number of entries for any one school, regardless of size, is 28 students, 7 singers per voice part. This means that in a larger choral music program, students must audition for an audition spot, which results in another layer of competition. Each entry consists of 1, 2, 3, or 4 singers auditioning on one of 4 voice parts: soprano, alto, tenor, or bass. No duplication of voice part within an entry is allowed. Most schools, if they have enough students auditioning, opt for full quartet entries, since the music is written for 4 to 8 parts and is difficult to navigate with less than 4 singers. The state is divided into 6 audition districts with a complex quota system based on the number of entries determining how many singers are chosen from each district. Auditioning ensembles are identified by a school numerical code, and auditioning singers may not wear or carry anything that can identify their school to the auditor. For the first round, the 7-minute audition is presented before one judge. The audition material is made up of cuts from the All-State song set and is posted online at 5 a.m. the morning of the auditions. All auditions are a cappella, which means unaccompanied, and only the auditioning quartet and a student to play beginning pitches are allowed into the audition room. Students are not allowed to restart a cut once they have sung a significant portion of it. They may stop, get pitches, and then continue if the performance breaks down to the point that this action is warranted. Students are judged in the areas of tone quality, rhythm, intonation, and musicianship. The adjudicator may award up to 10 points in each of the 4 categories, with the score total determining which students are recalled and accepted. Scores are not published or made available to the students or choral directors. At the end of the first round of auditions, lists are posted in a central place at the audition site for students who are accepted into the chorus and those who are recalled for a second round of auditions. Students who are not on either list are not accepted. Recalled students must quickly prepare for the next 3-minute audition, which will consist of different cuts from the first round and will be sung before 2 or 3 judges. All of the recalls are solo auditions, which is a change from the morning ensemble audition for most students. At the end of the recall audition process, the adjudicators choose enough singers to fill the quota for each voice part in that district. The final list of accepted students are posted in a central place, and everyone goes home. Competition and music education have remained uneasy bedfellows for nearly a century, with competitive school music contests continuing to thrive despite research attesting to negative consequences. Auditioning for all-state ensembles, a competitive process considered rigorous even for the most advanced students, remains a rite of passage for outstanding high school musicians, with a significant amount of time, money, and effort invested in the audition process by both music teacher and auditioning student. This investment is meant to reap benefits for both the individual student and the student's choral music program in terms of increased performance skill, musical knowledge, and self-efficacy. These are worthy educational goals, but it is not clear that the outcome of the audition process matches the festival's original intent. This study will delve into the high-risk, high-reward world of all-state chorus auditions to discover how the competitive aspect of these educational activities impacts a student's personal and musical self-efficacy. The study utilizes the lens of the All-State Chorus audition process, a purely competitive event for high school choral music students. This researcher is intimately familiar with the Iowa All-State Chorus, having experienced the audition process as a student member, an accompanist, a choral director, and as an adjudicator. A qualitative, descriptive case study design was chosen, allowing the researcher to systematically gather enough information about a particular person, social, setting, event, or group to permit the researcher to effectively understand how it operates or functions. Specific research questions include: 1. What is the effect of the all-state audition process on a student participant's feelings of musical self-efficacy? 2. What is the effect of the all-state audition process on a student participant's feelings of personal self-efficacy? Number 3. What is the effect of the all-state audition process on a student's lifelong involvement in musical performance? 4. What is the effect of the all-state audition process on a student's lifelong appreciation of music and music performance? 13 participants were purposefully selected from students who auditioned for All-State Chorus in the state of Iowa and have since graduated from high school. A snowball sampling technique was employed, with present and past Iowa high school choral directors identifying former students who would be relevant to the topic, and the initial participants themselves identifying additional contacts. The interview process continued and data was collected until theoretical saturation was achieved. The participants proved to be a rich data source, which mirrored the general demographics of the Iowa All-State Chorus audition process in terms of gender, ethnicity, voice part, and success or failure in the auditions. Graduation years of the participants ranged from 1994 to 2008. Graduates from 4 high schools who worked with 9 different choral directors were studied. A brief description of the 13 informants, each of whom has been assigned a pseudonym, follows. This slide contains the names of the informants in the study, their graduation year, the number of years that they auditioned for All-State, the number of years they were recalled, and the number of years that they were selected. Further details about the informants are contained in my research study. This study utilized a variety of data sources. The primary source of data consisted of telephone interviews with each of the 13 informants. The semi-structured interviews followed an interview guide to ensure that specific topics were covered while keeping flexibility in the process. The 9 choral directors of the informants were interviewed by telephone as well to obtain their perspective on their students' experiences. The informants participated in a wiki site developed by the researcher for this project. On the site, the informants told their All-State audition story, responded to questions concerning the audition process posted by the researcher, and commented on the experiences and reflections of other participants. In this way, the wiki became an online focus group. Results from the informant interviews, choral director interviews, and online focus group were compared to see if similar results were found. Using this methodological triangulation, validity was established. Data was analyzed as it was collected, using a framework approach through which topics that recur indicated patterns that were organized into themes. The resulting themes indicated possible answers to the study's research questions and offered insight into the effectiveness of the present All-State audition process, as well as the overall effect of competition within the field of music education. Patterns in the data related to three central themes. 1. The effect of competition on self-efficacy beliefs. 2. Fairness of assessment. And 3. Peer support. This section presents a summary of the findings as it relates to each theme, along with specific supportive evidence. Related literature connections are included. Music education has struggled from its inception to reconcile music's emotive nature with the competitive drive of Western culture. Miller states the problem well. Art is a reflection of the human condition. One of the most insidious examples of this in our contemporary society is the obsession for competing that has permeated all venues of our society, including our artistic environment. Austin agrees, arguing that competition interferes with the type of cognitive function in music that engages higher-order thinking. Competition can be emotionally devastating to those who do not come out on top. Says Austin, failure in competition leads the less talented, the less confident, and the less fortunate down motivational dead-end streets. For many professionals, competition has no place in music education. Others, however, posit that competition improves music performance and builds character. A 1983 survey of students, parents, directors, and administrators revealed a positive attitude toward competition in college band students that increased as the number of competitions that the student had experienced increased. While all groups felt that the primary benefits of marching competition were extra-musical, a significant number of directors felt that students, parents, and administrators would rebel if they removed competitive events from the performance schedule. In another study of elementary band students in which one group received comments only in a music contest and the other group received comments and ratings, the rated group was the one that gained significantly in achievement. Both groups gained in self-concept, and there was no significant difference in motivation. 70% of the students participating in the study stated that they would choose to participate in a rated contest. From a student viewpoint, competition often seems to be welcomed and a productive part of the learning process. Most informants in this study agree with the latter view. Gary states, "While it was intimidating the first year to audition, the process helped me to grow faster as a musician, and being chosen to audition reaffirmed the feeling that I was talented. When I didn't make it my sophomore year, it really bothered me. It made me work harder the next 2 years because I didn't want that feeling again." Nick agrees. Musically, it was a challenge and a stretch. It was less safe than singing in a choir because we were 1-2 apart, and I had to own my deficiencies. Even though I was disappointed that I wasn't selected, the true reward was pushing myself to be better. Callie says, "The process taught me to take criticism and to learn and grow. I had to accept peer feedback and not be defensive." Matt adds, "I can talk in front of any group and do a presentation of any length. I have the ability to read people and to finish something really difficult. Allstate gave me that." Annie concludes, "It was exhilarating." However, the audition process does exact an emotional cost, especially for those who are selected early in their high school career and then are not selected in a subsequent year. Mike says, "Making it 3 years and then not my senior year really messed with me. I questioned whether I was meant to be a singer, and I went into another field of study before coming back to music education. I had to overcome my ego and realize that the music was what was important." Elsa had a similar audition experience, being chosen her first 3 years of high school and even being selected as an all-state soloist her sophomore year. She was recalled but not selected her senior year. She states, "My confidence was shaken. I went on to major in jazz performance in college, but changed my major to elementary education after my freshman year. I battled depression and didn't have much hope in my life. Annie, who was chosen her sophomore and senior years, but not her junior year, adds, "There is such an emphasis on being selected for Allstate. It was hard to understand not making it. I cried and then was ashamed that I wanted it that badly. I questioned why they didn't like me. It felt like a personal jab." Katie, who had an extensive musical background but was never selected, stated that the results were embarrassing and didn't feel good. Even though participants recognized that the ultimate value of the process was the musical and personal growth, the audition results mattered. Being selected or rejected was personal. However, students could accept not being selected if they perceived the process as fair. Performance assessment is an essential ingredient of a student musician's education. As Geringer et al. States, it is paramount to utilize an efficient yet fair and accurate audition process to assess large numbers of performances in a short period of time. However, achieving an unbiased assessment seems to be a difficult task. McPherson and Thompson report that extra musical biases, such as the judge's personality, mood, and attitude, can impact ratings. In a 1978 study, experienced musicians were asked to rate the performances heard on 2 recordings. Even though the musicians heard the same recording twice, there was an alarmingly low correlation between the ratings of the 2 performances. Judging a musical performance is subjective, even when specific assessment criteria are used. The Iowa High School Music Association has adapted its audition procedures through the years in an attempt to eliminate bias. The auditions are completely a cappella or unaccompanied, so that schools with professional accompanists do not have an advantage. Auditioning ensembles are identified only by number, and ensemble members may not have any clothing or music folders that identify their school. Only students are allowed in the audition room so that choral directors known to the judges do not affect decisions. The audition cuts are heard in the same order for each ensemble. Recall auditions are by individual singers so that the performance of other members of the ensemble cannot affect the outcome. The informants, however, feel that more can be done, and some of the changes may have actually increased the stress level of the process. For example, the informants from the 1990s were recalled under the original rules, where the entire quartet sang the recall audition before multiple judges if the morning audition judge recalled any individual member, and the quartet did not know which member was recalled. Matt liked the system. It was good that we didn't know who was recalled because none of us felt singled out. The support of my fellow quartet members going into the recall was tremendous. The minute we walked out of the audition, I knew we all had made it. Contrast that with informant experience from the 2000s under the solo recall system. Mike says it was frightening, like a firing squad, with ridiculous cuts. Other informants called it torture, nerve-wracking, and intimidating. Danielle says the stress level was amplified. It felt like they were peeling away layers of support because it was all up to me. Many felt that nerves management played a larger role in a successful recall audition than actual preparation or ability. The informants also felt that the lack of formative feedback from the judge made the experience less educational. All but one informant felt that audition scores, both the total score and each category score, should be made available to the choral directors and auditioning students, along with the cutoff score for acceptance. Unlike several other states, the only feedback that a performer receives in Iowa is whether they are accepted, recalled, or not accepted. Says Steve, "I would have liked to know how close I was." Chris agrees. How can you grow if you don't know what the problem areas are? John says, kids have worked hard and deserve to know how to improve. This could be a teaching moment. If your score was low on tone quality, then let's work on that. Mike felt that publishing the scores would also make the judges more accountable for their decisions. I know that it is a difficult job, but some of the decisions seem capricious. Similar statements came from other informants who were chosen 1 or more years and then inexplicably not selected. The dissenting opinion came from Gary. For me, I was already hurt. Learning what my score was would have opened the wound back up. It would have become a negative. Instead, hurt fueled the fire to succeed. On the wiki site, Nick disagreed with John. The lack of feedback goes against the values of IHSMA, which has an emphasis on the educational value of any contest or festival. Clearly, the scoring and feedback issue sparked a lively debate and ignited strong emotions. One of the surprising themes that emerged from the data was the strength of peer support within the process. Says Danielle, quartet rehearsals were challenging and rewarding. We would work together, and when it clicked, it was so cool. Steve states, I liked building that bond. We became a family that supported and encouraged each other. Elsa says, I was so shy and my emotions were all bottled up. Through Allstate, I learned to work with others and lead less experienced singers. Connecting with singers from other schools was important as well. Callie liked being around other people with a shared interest. Annie remembered the first moment she sang with the Allstate chorus in rehearsal. I was overwhelmed by the music. I had worked so hard to get there, and I was singing with people who cared about this as much as I did. It was very emotional. Says Matt, we had to become a family. We ate together, rehearsed together, laughed and cried together. Gary concludes, the friendships I made because of Allstate have sustained over time. I wouldn't change a thing. Annie calls singing a gift that allows you to use your mind, body, and soul. Nothing is as beautiful. Mike concludes, when you sing on stage, it's almost nirvana. These positive responses resonated through the interviews. All informants characterized the Allstate audition process as something that had a positive impact on their educational experience and their lives. This qualitative, in-depth study of the Allstate audition process can add a unique perspective to the debate of the value of competitive events within the field of music education by giving voice to students who have undergone the process, who have walked the walk. Their ideas of the strengths and weaknesses of the system can provide guideposts down a path to an improved system which provides formative assessment for all, as well as a festival experience for the most outstanding. Because the study was limited to graduates of 4 high schools of medium size, students from small schools or very large schools may have a different experience and viewpoint. Further study of graduates from these types of schools would be warranted. Because of the in-depth nature of the study, the sample size was necessarily small. A mixed method study utilizing survey data would provide a more diverse perspective. This researcher intends to follow up this project with a study that follows current Iowa Allstate Chorus audition participants through the audition preparation process. It will be interesting to see if their impressions mirror those of the graduates.